Donald Trump is one of the most polarizing figures in modern history. To his supporters, he's a fearless leader who says what others are too afraid to. To his critics, he's a showman who thrives on controversy. But beyond the public rallies, fiery speeches, and constant media attention, there exists a side of Trump that very few people have ever seen. This is the side his close friends, longtime business associates, and even some critics reluctantly admit to. One that is rarely caught on camera. What's the man really like when the spotlight turns off? What do the people who've shared private dinners, golf games, and late-night phone calls with him say about the real Donald Trump? The answers may surprise you. Those who know him best often describe him as a man of contradictions. On one hand, he's incredibly competitive, someone who treats even a friendly game of golf like it's a high-stakes battle. On the other, he's said to be surprisingly sentimental, holding onto old notes, mementos, and even magazine clippings from decades ago. Friends claim that in private, Trump can be unexpectedly generous, picking up the tab for massive dinners without saying a word, or sending spontaneous gifts to people who have done him favors in the past. These gestures aren't always publicized. In fact, they rarely are, because Trump reportedly prefers them to be part of his personal relationships rather than public image. Several longtime acquaintances talk about his obsession with appearances, not just his own, but everything around him. He notices details most people overlook: table settings, lighting in a room, the arrangement of chairs. He has been known to personally adjust these things before an event begins. Some friends say this attention to detail comes from his years in real estate and hospitality, where presentation could make or break a deal. Yet, there's also a playful side to Trump that almost never makes the headlines. According to a former business partner, he enjoys practical jokes and teasing those close to him. He's been known to call friends with fake voices just to see if they'll catch on, or to tell outrageous stories before revealing they were made up. These lighthearted moments can be disarming, especially for people who only know him through his aggressive public persona. One of the most surprising things people say about Trump is his work ethic. Even those who dislike him admit he can be relentless when focused on a project. Friends recall receiving emails or phone calls from him in the middle of the night, followed by follow-ups early the next morning. Sleep, it seems, is not something he prioritizes. This high-energy lifestyle has impressed some and worn out others. A former associate once joked, "Being friends with Trump is like being in a marathon you didn't sign up for. You either keep up or you get left behind." Another little-known fact from those who know him personally is his loyalty to a select circle. If Trump feels you've been loyal to him, he will defend you fiercely, sometimes even when it costs him politically or financially. Several people close to him say that once you're in his inner circle, he treats you like family. However, the reverse is also true. If he believes you've betrayed him, the door slams shut, and it's nearly impossible to regain his trust. Friends also talk about his unexpected shyness in certain situations. While he thrives in front of large crowds, there are moments in smaller gatherings where he can be more reserved, listening carefully before speaking. Some suggest that in these settings, he's sizing people up, deciding whether they're worth engaging. It's a reminder that despite his reputation for dominating conversations, he can also be a surprisingly good listener, at least when it matters to him. There's also a personal warmth that occasionally surfaces in private moments. One friend recalled how Trump visited their family after a personal tragedy, staying far longer than expected and offering comfort without any cameras around. These kinds of stories don't make headlines, but they shape the way many of his longtime acquaintances view him. A complex mix of showman, strategist, and at times, an unexpectedly compassionate friend. Of course, not all accounts are glowing. Some friends turned critics point out that his competitiveness can turn into stubbornness, that his loyalty can sometimes blind him to flaws in those he supports, and that his relentless drive often makes him impatient with people who can't match his pace. But even those who've fallen out with him admit, often grudgingly, that there is a magnetic quality about him, a presence that's hard to forget once you've experienced it. What's perhaps most fascinating about the unseen side of Donald Trump is how it contrasts so sharply with the public image the world knows. The man who thrives on attention can also be intensely private. The fighter who seems to never back down can also be surprisingly sentimental. And the businessman who measures success in deals and dollar signs has moments where personal connections matter more than anything else. In the end, the friends who tell all don't paint a picture of a saint or a villain. They describe a man full of contradictions, someone who can be charming one moment and combative the next, generous and calculating, playful and strategic. They remind us that the public figure we see on TV is only part of the story. The rest lives in the quiet dinners, the private phone calls, and the moments that never make the news. And maybe that's the most revealing thing of all, that the real Donald Trump is not one thing but many, depending on where you're standing and how close you've been allowed to get.